All right, today we're diving into the life of a truly pivotal figure in history, Ali, the fourth caliph of Islam. And his story? Wow. It's all about prophecy, incredible trials, and leadership in what was just an unprecedented time of crisis.
So, picture this. It's the year 656 CE. The leader of the Muslims, the third caliph, Uthman, he's just been assassinated. In his own home. A massive wave of fear, anger, and just pure grief is sweeping across the entire Muslim world.
And for the very first time, this absolutely massive empire, we're talking from the borders of India all the way to the seas of Europe, it's completely leaderless. You can just feel it. The whole thing is about to fracture and just fall apart.
So, in this moment of just absolute chaos, there's one single question on everyone's mind. Who could possibly hold it all together?
Okay, so the caliphate is right on the brink of collapse, and in the capital, Medina, all eyes turn to one single person.
The people, they really felt there was only one person who could save them. So they went to him, pleading with him to take charge. And that man was Ali, the cousin and son-in-law of the Prophet Muhammad, a man raised in the Prophet's own home.
But to really get who this man was and why everyone turned to him, we need to rewind. We've got to go way back, long before this crisis, to the very beginning of his pretty extraordinary life.
See, Ali's journey, it doesn't begin in some grand palace. It starts right in the home of the Prophet Muhammad himself. He was shaped by this really unique set of circumstances that put him at the very heart of Islam right from his earliest days.
Okay, so he was born to Abu Talib, who was a really respected leader in Mecca. But then a terrible famine hits the city, and his father is struggling. So to help ease the burden, his cousin Muhammad, who wasn't a prophet yet, and his wife Khadija, they adopted Ali. He was only 5 years old. So he wasn't just raised as a cousin, he was raised like a son, getting his education directly from the man who was about to change the world.
And from a super early age, Ali showed this incredible conviction and bravery, way beyond his years. It's no wonder his nickname was Haidar, which means the lion.
Now here's a really telling moment. After receiving his first revelations, the Prophet Muhammad gets his family together, about 40 relatives, for a meal. He lays out his message and then asks this simple but totally profound question. Who among you will support me in this mission?
And silence. Total silence. Nobody stood up. Well, except for one person. A kid, just 13 years old, who stood and pledged his complete, unwavering support. Of course, that boy was Ali. He basically said, "O messenger of God, I might be young, but I will always stand with you."
And this loyalty? It was tested over and over. Years later, think about this. Assassins surround the Prophet's house, ready to kill him in his sleep. Ali volunteers for maybe the most dangerous job you can imagine. He sleeps in the Prophet's bed as a decoy, which lets Muhammad escape to Medina. What an incredible act of courage.
And that courage, well, it was about to be tested on the battlefield, where Ali would go on to become one of the most legendary warriors of his time.
So the first major test comes at the Battle of Badr. The early Muslims are just hugely outnumbered. They're facing a force 3 times their size. And before the fighting even starts, the Meccans send out 3 of their best champions for one-on-one combat. The Prophet chooses 3 of his own to meet them: his uncle Hamza, Ubaidah, and, you guessed it, the young Ali.
Ali's reputation just grew with every single battle. At the Battle of the Trench, for instance, Mecca's most feared warrior, this giant of a man named Amr ibn Ad-Wud, he crosses the trench and challenges the Muslims to a duel. And again, silence. Nobody dared to move. But Ali, he steps forward. The duel was fast. Ali took down the champion, and in doing so, he just completely shattered the enemy's morale.
But maybe his most famous military moment was at Khaybar. This was a massive, heavily fortified stronghold, and everyone believed it was impenetrable. For days, the Muslim army, under other commanders, tried and failed to break through its walls, and morale was just hitting rock bottom.
And then the Prophet makes this historic announcement. He tells his followers, "Tomorrow I will give the flag to a man whom Allah and his messenger love." And everyone knew what that meant. The anticipation that night must have been unbelievable. Every single soldier was hoping, praying, they'd be the one.
So the next morning comes and the Prophet calls out, "Where is Ali?" But here's the thing. Ali was suffering from a terrible eye infection. He could barely even see. The Prophet healed him, handed him the flag, and Ali led the charge.
He defeated Khaybar's champion and led the assault that finally conquered the unconquerable fortress. This was a huge deal, securing the entire future of the Muslim state.
But, this fierce warrior on the battlefield, he was also a central figure in the Prophet's personal life. His connection wasn't just about faith, it was about family.
Ali was married to the Prophet's youngest daughter, Fatima, who he absolutely adored. And even though you could say they had a kind of royal lineage, they lived a life of real simplicity and poverty. Together, they had 2 sons, Hasan and Husayn, and they would become the Prophet's only surviving male descendants.
And the Prophet? He absolutely adored his grandsons. You'd see him carrying them on his shoulders through the streets of Medina. He showed them so much affection, once saying that Hasan and Husayn are my 2 flowers in this world.
Now, as the Prophet's life started to draw to a close, the things he said about Ali became much more direct, really pointing towards a special status and a future role of leadership for him. There's this one moment, on the way back from his final pilgrimage, the Prophet gathers all the Muslims at a place called Ghadir Khumm. He takes Ali by the hand, raises it up high for everyone to see, and he declares, "Of whomsoever I am the leader, Ali is his leader." And that statement, it's one of the most significant and debated statements in all of Islamic history.
So let's recap, right? We have a man raised in the Prophet's own house, an absolute hero on the battlefield, and a figure clearly pointed to for leadership. Which brings us right back to where we started, the year 656. An empire is broken, and everyone is looking to him for salvation. So here's the question. When a leader's entire life seems to be a preparation for one single ultimate test, what happens when that moment finally